Oh, hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank, another round of comic chat, and we've got 4 books today, so good feeling all around. So our first one is Superman Lost, and I'm not gonna lie, 3 issues in of this 10-issue run, and I'm not feeling it. It feels like we're just sort of not getting anywhere, but maybe that's the point of the first couple of issues. So, if you last recall, Superman was trapped, fell through a black hole, or went through a black hole. Then it turns out he'd been gone for years, when in reality, for everyone else, he'd been gone for like 5 minutes at most. So this is about the journey he took to get home. So issue 2 was him uh, arriving at a spot in space, trying to get help. They said, "You got money?" No. They threw him out. Then he arrives at a planet that looks like it could use his help, but they said, "No, man, we got to fix our own problems. You get on out of here. You want to get home, right?" So he takes the offer for that, and he gets out of there. So here we are now. And we have an interesting first page. The first page really sells this idea that that Lois might not be in the right headspace, or at the very least, she's dealing with the stress fact that, Clark's not, he's still not over what's happened. So she's affecting her work, and when you're stressed out or you hit rise block, you find something else to do. So she finds this appears to be a broken phone, and this was a communicator that Clark had used while he was traveling through space. So the equipment that he was given by Victor allows him to sort of store more solar energy, so he can keep traveling through space. Because remember, Superman's powers come from absorbing solar radiation, yellow solar radiation specifically, and he can run out. It just takes a lot for him to run out. So space travel is definitely something that would keep him running out. But anyway, he goes through. Everything seems fine. He doesn't quite know where anything is, though. He's trying to figure out. It's going to take a long time. Long time. It's weird, because to me, the answer here is simple-ish. He has to find a Green Lantern. I mean, granted, that's not like an easy thing to do, but that makes it easier. He can either jet it straight to Earth, or he can find a Green Lantern, and, that'll help speed things along a bit. But anyway, I guess in this story there are no Green Lanterns, which is fine. So he goes through, still, meandering through space, no destination, and he comes across Space Dolphins. Now, this is not a whole new idea. Lobo mentioned them at one point in DC Comics, so yeah, Space Dolphins are a thing. They look just as mean as regular dolphins, which means they're probably just as terrible as regular dolphins. So anyway, he grabs on them because, hey, it's a short trip, and there's a bet that they probably will lead somewhere close home, because they have been seen roughly close to Section 2814. So that has a hope. So we ride on that, and something stops them, and it turns out that they brought him here because something is scaring them. Something has taken hold of some of their flock, some of their people. Space Dolphins, they need your help. So he goes down there and sees this gas planet, and I thought for a moment it was Venus, but oh well, we're super close, all right, so we probably aren't. So anyway, he goes down there, figures out what it is, and he's met by a sand sculpture of Superman. And I thought, okay, I guess it's a friendly planet? I don't know. So it fights them off. Turns out, yeah, they've taken some of the dolphins, but that's because, well, they're trying to keep the dolphins away, which, yeah, is weird, because there are a small, micro, protozoan-like species. So they don't register as, quote-unquote, normal life on any regular scanners. But guess what? The space dolphins come down and eat them. So, we can't have them coming down here trying to eat us. So we're just keeping them up there, trapping them up there. And Superman's like, so you kind of just not, well, they could also kind of not eat us. So you can either stop them from eating us, or, yeah, we're going to keep them. So Superman finds a way, hey, look, all right, so how about this? Can you possibly create, an atmosphere that sort of pushes them away, send out a pulse or something? Actually, yeah, we can do that. And so they do that, problem solved. So Superman continues to ride the dolphins out for a bit, and then they go off well, you helped us. Go screw yourself. And they just, they go off. Yeah, we're done with you now. And as he's trying to keep track of them, well, apparently Space Dolphins are faster than Superman, so there's that. And in his rage, he cracks the phone / communicator, and that's how the comic ends. ultimately, Superman Lost issue 3 is all right. I think really what Priest is setting up here is the fact that the easy solutions aren't there. All right, so he has to essentially backpack it through the infinite void of space to get to Earth. So yeah, that is weird. That is weird in its own way, and it is because in a lot of ways this does attempt to ground Superman in some sort of form of reality. All right, because yeah, he's in space. Superman can fly at super speeds, probably even in space. But if he doesn't know where he's going, there's no point. All right. Now, granted, if this was Superman from the main continuity, he probably would have been back to Earth by now, because he can transcend things like distance and whatnot. They mean nothing to him now. So, yeah. But again, if he doesn't know where he's going, there's no point. He can just super speed his way into like another black hole. Then he's Hail Mary again. It's not bad, but it's just. I need something a bit more exciting. Maybe something a bit more personal internally. Like, I'm going to give this issue 4. Maybe 5 if 4 breaks even. But if we get to issue 5 and I'm not loving it, we're just going to drop it. So, next, Generation Joker. Alright. Continuation of Sean Gordon Murphy's, Beyond White Knight. This is White Knight Presents by Katana Collins and Clay McCormick. Yeah, McCormick. And this takes place at some point after the events of Beyond the White Knight. So we have here, we're opening up to the Batmobile dropping off Jackie and Bryce to an abandoned house. This is apparently the house where Jack Napier grew up. He's like, I want you kids to see where your old man grew up. I'm like, why? Are we trying to make the Killing Joke seem less tragic and less overrated? Or more overrated, because it's kind of overrated. But anyway. So we go back to much earlier when Jackie was talking to her dad, Jack, in the computer, and he's like, hey, look, so I've transferred my consciousness to this thing here, so put a flash drive in, and I will be in there, all right? So we'll go there, and I can spend more time with you for a bit, and goes in there, and it turns out that Bruce has to go. Like, he has to go do this job for Diana and John, deal with this Kryptonian thing, and this is really a way just to wipe the slate clean. Doesn't have to go back to jail or anything once he does this. So, it's sad in its own way that Bruce and Harley just can't be together. They can't just be a family that I think, Bruce admits at this point that he wants to be a part of. But this is the best solution. It's going to take a bit longer, but, we'll see. Meanwhile, Jackie and Harley are still butting heads, because apparently Jackie's still grounded. Which in a lot of ways makes sense, because yeah, she helped save the city, but she also helped make it worse by running off and helping Derek Powers for a bit. So yeah. So she goes to talk to Bryce. Bryce talks about how mom's been haunting her too, because hey, I got a 90-something on a test, and she was like, hey, I do better. But by default, those two things aren't the same. I think in a lot of ways, Bryce represents Jack Napier and Jackie represents Harley, and I think that's sort of hard because she has to deal with her own rebellious nature being thrown back in her face a bit. But anyway, so Jackie puts in the flash drive into the computer like, hey, let's meet Dad. And hey, Dad comes out. He's happy to see Bryce, which is I don't know why she named him Bryce. Like Jackie, I get it. It's obvious, but I don't quite get the Bryce. I don't know. Maybe I missed something in the first White Knight book. But anyway, so Harley goes in to have that mother-to-daughter talk, like, hey, look, I know I had a tough relation with my mom, and I don't want it to be like that. Which, might speak volumes about Harley's own upbringing. Oh, gee, Harley had family problems. Who knew? Anyway, and she finds it's gone, so she accesses the computer and chat like, hey, look, so I took the kids. They're going to be safe with me for like a week, because this program won't last a week. And there's actually a little emphasis on the I right there. So the question is he also implying like, hey, I might go back to being the Joker? Or is that just something in the back of Harley's mind that, hey, he could go back to being the Joker? So she calls them up like, hey, I need some help. And they're like, hey, look, all right, so what you're telling me is the Joker, all right, has taken some kids and driven off somewhere. So we'll deal with this. She wants Bruce. Bruce like, yeah, so I'm kind of too far away now, so by the time I get there, the week will be over. The car they took will perfectly camouflage. It'll be totally normal. It'll move like the Batmobile, but it'll just look like a regular car when it's not moving, so that won't tell you anything. Bruce sort of like gives a hint to Harley, like, hey, look, you need to get there before they do, all right? And you need to see things from my point of view. Pretty much telling everyone publicly, like, hey, look, I can't get there, all right? You guys understand my perspective here. I won't get there before they do. See things from my perspective, my point of view. Harleen gets it, so she goes, okay, fine. She goes in there. She puts on the old bat suit again, like the bat suit he made for her. Put on these special glasses, like, hey, yeah, we're in. And she's also calling for some help in Red Hood and Robin. And she's like, all right. Jason's like, yeah, so we're cocked, locked, and ready to rock on. What we're gonna do? She's like, I need you to watch my puppies. And Jason's like, what? Luckily, Gon is like, puppies. I love Gon. Best girl, all right? Jaro has competition for best Robin now. So anyway, on her way out, she's tailed by Neo Joker. And so, for those of you that don't know, if you weren't reading the White Knight book before, Neo Joker is actually the Harley that I think everyone thinks is the mainstream Harley. So, in the context of the White Knight universe, all right, Harleen Quinzel was the first Harley. She left Joker after the whole issue with Jace. She was like, that's too much. I'm out. And Joker, in his addled state of mind, while robbing a bank, happened to find some other mentally disturbed girl who's like, you know what? I'm feeling this guy. And she became the new Harley. And Joker never realized that Harley left and that Harley was replaced. She had her own little story in the White Knight universe with Harleen. So, yeah, there was something fun about that. So she's like, hey, what are you doing here, Marion? And Marion's interrupted by Ivy. I'm like, what is Ivy doing here? All right, this is Harley, and Ivy. So the question is, where's this going? Because main continuity, Ivy is in love with Harley. Or likes Harley. Or is attracted to Harley. I hesitate to use love for this relationship because it just never seems healthy at all. But whatever. If it works, it works. It sells. So the question is she here for Harleen or here for Marina? Who knows? All right. Anyway. So Joker, Jack tries to take the kids to the place where he and Harleen first met. Where I don't know why he would take her there because she was at best an exotic dancer. Where they met, but anyway, like, okay, this is okay. Let's just go into this new, I guess, fun house, and we'll talk about things there. There are clowns there, and Jack takes offense to the fact that just like you, like, no. My makeup was much better applied. All right, I knew showmanship, even at my worst. I looked better than this. So, but this puppet show is weird because a lot of the puppets are actually members of the Arkham Rogues Gallery. All right, there's Croc, there's a Penguin, there's Scarecrow, there's Two-Face, and Jack's like, we should probably go. And it turns out this is a trap set by the ventriloquist's daughter. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, also during the events of White Knight, if you didn't read White Knight, you were missing so much. A lot of the Arkham Rogues were killed, courtesy of a plan issued by Jack Napier. At least that's what I think happened. It's been a while since I read White Knight, so we should probably read White Knight again. But anyway, so ultimately that's how the comic ends. Ultimately, I was not asking for this. I didn't think I needed it, and I still don't feel I need it, but it is nice to see the White Knight universe. I wouldn't mind if we took a break from it after this story, like, give it some time to breathe, let it all settle in. But ultimately, I think this is good, but I don't think we're getting enough of Jackie and Bryce in the story because ultimately they don't matter as much as the other characters. Like the children of Harleen Quinzel and Jack Napier are not as interesting as what we see them as normally. The child of the Joker and Harley. That's kind of it. Harleen has spent a lot of time trying to shelter her kids from the fact that, hey, their dad was the Joker. Because in her mind, their dad is Jack. I mean, it's like the same thing Harvey Dent and Two-Face in this instance here. So there's that to be sure. But at the same time, she may have sheltered them too much because in their mind, like, hey, they find out that, hey, their mom killed their dad. They had no idea why. They didn't know the man he used to be and not the person he ended up as. And I think that does them both a disservice. But ultimately, still fun. Another Bruce light story, which I think is fine. Like, if your Bat-centric book can't last without Batman, and it's not Batman, centered. Like, if it's not about Bruce, you don't really have a good story. In my mind, for anything in the Batman story, like, love or hate Tom Taylor's Nightwing, it doesn't need Batman. It needs a better story. Same thing with Batgirl and the Robin's book, and the Red Hood. Batman can be there, but you don't have to thank heavens Batman's here, the book's better. No. Batman in any sort of Bat family book should always be like ketchup or steak on really good fries at steak, alright? It shouldn't need it, but it's good to have it. Like, it's good. It's good. Overall, fun. I look forward to seeing where this is going to go. Now we've got something special. There's a new Green Lantern book. We have a new Green Lantern book, more importantly. Alright, so, part of Dawn of DC, Green Lantern issue 1 by, I think this is Jeremy Adams. He's done some really good things from The Flash, from what I've heard. I read the first volume of his run with Wally, liked it. I'm waiting for the other trades to come in. So, back on Earth, ready for action. So, what's weird about the Green Lantern book is that, really, after the events of Hal joined the Green Lantern Corps, and Green Lanterns, basically the Green Lantern books written by Robert Venditti and Sam Humphries in the beginning of DC Rebirth, there was no Green Lantern book. There was no main Green Lantern book. Grant Morrison wrote, I think it was called The Green Lantern, or just Green Lantern, with Hal Jordan and a bunch of other Green Lanterns. It was basically another attempt, at least from my understanding of it, of the Green Lantern Corps book, which I really liked, by Peter Tomasi. But I didn't read the second volume of that, but whatever. And then we had, what was his name? Why did I forget his name? Why have I forgotten his name? I forget his name. There was another Green Lantern book that also was really more influenced by the events of Future State. That didn't go anywhere, really. There was some interesting stuff. Mostly was a John Stewart-centric book, which wasn't bad, but also just wasn't that interesting. It had the Teen Lantern, Simon Baz, Joe Mullane. It was really trying to do too much in my mind, just to also elevate John Stewart to a new level of power that didn't matter, because I think he's lost it already, but either way, if there's no mainstay Green Lantern book, there's no main Green Lantern book that doesn't feel like it's picking up from the events of the last story or leading to something that has a lasting impact, it just doesn't tend to matter. Why can I not remember his name? Oh, because he was talked about for a while. Because he said, like, he didn't care, like, he had no interest in writing for Hal Jordan, which kind of, like, upset some people. But I'm like, if he didn't feel like he could write a story with Hal Jordan, I think it's fine. He still wrote with John Stewart. But I think really when we want a Green Lantern Corps book, we want Hal, John, Guy, Kyle. We want the whole group there. I think the best thing that came out of his run was really when he took the Green Lantern Corps, took a bunch of their members, and put them in other corps. Alright? And I hope that stayed, just because I think it's a cool idea. If for no other reason, to give those other corps some more interesting members. Because mainstay members do keep your corps alive. But anyway. So, this book opens up with, well, Hal Jordan announcing he's back. After saving some guys in what appeared to be, was it a mine shaft crash? Like a mine cave-in? He's like, yeah, I'm back. Hal Jordan's back. And the announcement's been made, and Carol Ferris is like trying to keep Ferris Air afloat, because Ferris Air is never afloat. It's like she might as well just give up, and that is sad because Carol Ferris works harder than anyone to keep her company going. But I've never seen a moment where it's good. Maybe I'm missing the story. If you know it, put it in the comment section. But I've never known Ferris Air to be doing good. Every story starts off with Ferris Air is failing, and so she turns around. She sees that Hal's back. She's like, oh, fuck. Okay, so these two are on again, off again. Sometimes it's great. It's like a complicated Superman and Lois. Actually, at some point you could probably mistake Carol for Lois. But whatever. So he's back. She's like, oh god. She's trying to secure a contract, and now she sees her, I guess, ex is back. And he's like, hey, Carol, so, I'm back. You wanna have dinner or something? And she's like, look, Hal, I literally don't have time for this right now, alright? She's like, look, you've been gone a long time, lots changed, I have a boyfriend now, which, to me just doesn't matter, because by default, we all know where these two end up. We just do. And yeah, it's like, anyone I know? She doesn't answer, and the rest of the world sees it soon like, oh, happy. I'm guessing this is Coast City. So, because the bar there's like, hey, a round for everyone. I feel safe already. I hope it's Coast City. Because, Hal went through hell after Coast City was destroyed. And also, apparently, some mysterious pinkish purple figure wearing a cloak is seeing this news. That's clearly Sinestro. Why is Sinestro on Earth? Seriously, why is Sinestro on Earth? Is he waiting for Hal? But wait, Jeffrey Thorne. That's the dude's name that wrote the Green Lantern book. I'm sorry, it came out of nowhere. I'm looking at Sinestro's cold eyes because I remember that Sinestro. So, we're going to stop again. So, during that Green Lantern book, the Green Lantern Corps of Oa, the Green Lantern Corps, was trying to join the United Federation of Planets and whatnot. Basically, they tried to create like a governing body in space, all right? And the Lantern Corps wanted to join us. And Sinestro was like, look, you don't want the Guardians there, all right? Look, I'm not perfect. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm better than everybody else here, but I'm not perfect. The Guardians will never admit that, all right? The Guardians are terrible. They've done more harm than good. Manhunters. The Third Army. Krona. What was that? Anything else? Volthoom. Yeah, they've done a lot. Ganthet's cool. Rest of them, no. Fuck the Guardians. Anyway, so Hal's just spent some time sort of, on his brother's old RV, just, drinking, looking up at space. It's soda, because, characters can't drink anymore. Just sort of wondering what he's going to do now. Apparently, it almost sounds like Hal's been fired, but I think he's more importantly just been reassigned. Which is sort of interesting because a lot of the Earth Lanterns do just want to go home. They'd rather just like, hey, look, I love the space job and all, but I'd rather just be on Earth, where things make sense. Which is actually messed up because none of them have a job resume. Like, John Stewart is the closest one, but John Stewart has principles, so when he tried to work at his construction site, he was like, we're not going to cut corners on equipment. And they're like, you're done. Get out. So, yeah. So, he hears about this dude that's attacking the city, and he goes down there, and this dude calls himself Steel Fury. And I'm like, that is... Okay, are you like an enemy of steel? Like John Henry Irons? Because that would work. But no. So anyway, Hal gets he remembers what happened his first day at Ferris Air when he asked for a job back, for his job back as a test pilot. He crashed a plane. If you need a viewpoint for Hal Jordan, think Tom Cruise in Maverick, and Top Gun and Maverick, alright? That's pretty much him. Which is why when people said Tom Cruise as Hal Jordan was a bad idea, I'm like, no, would have been a great idea like 20 years ago. But we didn't do it. Actually, see if he wants to do it now. Screw it. Clean him up a little. I need to get cleaned up. And see what happens. Like, go from there. I think it could work. But yeah. So he's fired. And so Hal's feeling kind of, needs a fight. So he takes the truck, drives down to the Steel Fury, like, yeah, dude, let's go. Let's rumble, bitch. And he goes in, and Hal's like, I know that tech. Dude, you want to get out of that thing? You want to get out of that thing? It's Manhunter tech. And Hal's like, so that, I had to tell you this. That thing's greatest weakness. Its power, so it's manipulated by willpower. And I hate to tell you this, I'm the only Lantern on Earth. And even then, even if there were Lanterns on, none of them have more willpower than me. I'm like, yeah. And that's how the comic ends. Ultimately, it's alright. Actually, it's a great start. But then we have a backup story, which is a new thing that DC's doing now with their stories, like putting little backup stories. Batman had one, still has one, Superman has one. They haven't been that interesting. But I think the Green Lantern mythos, I think, does a better job of fleshing out their other Lantern characters because they've all had solo books. They've all been in the lead role. So John Stewart has come back to his mom's house. Like, hey, turns out you didn't fix the shed, so I made you a new one. And she's happy to see him, and it's interesting because this implies John's been fired or reassigned. And he's like, I got nowhere else to be. And another time, in another universe, we cut to Guy Gardner, and I guess his student, who was sent here by John, and like, hey, we gotta protect the flame, we gotta protect the green flame. And they get attacked by what's called the Reavers, and they're looking for John Stewart. And I'm like, okay. All right, and this is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, another great writer. He wrote the World story for Action Comics, which is really good. When we go back to Superman Simple for Comic Run Talk, we will probably talk about that one. There's actually a list of stories I'd want to talk about for Comic Run Talk that I just don't have time to do, but we will at some point. We still have to do Wonder Woman. Also, that other one we promised we do. But anyway, that's how the story ends. I like it. Ultimately, Green Lantern, I think, has a good start. Hal Jordan has been sort of out of the mainstay for a while. Jeffrey Thorne, like I said, had no real interest in writing for Hal Jordan. He admitted it. He also had a not-so-hot take for the X-Men that, hey, the X-Men don't do a good job of representing oppressed people because oppressed people don't have powers that are a danger to everyone. Scarlet Witch, Emma Frost, Jean Grey, actually all of them. Every telepath should not be trusted in the X-Men universe. All right, but anyway. I like it. I like the pieces we're going here. We see Hal's weird relationship with Carol. Like, will they, won't they? Look, just have them do it, all right? Make her Star Sapphire again. Have them be, goals, all right? Sinestro's here. How will Sinestro verbally abuse Hal this time? Really great. It was actually, I think, the second story I read involving the Green Lantern was Sinestro verbally abusing Hal. It was great. So there's that. I don't think this Manhunter story is going to go anywhere. It's like, hey, the Manhunter's back. Dude apparently bought it online. I'm like, so it's just selling Manhunter tech on Earth? See, this is why Amanda Waller needs to be fired. She should be watching this stuff. But anyway, so that was number 3. Our finale is Stargirl and the Lost Children, issue 6. So this conclusion is sort of weird, but it's not weird it's in a bad way. So we get a rundown of exactly where this new Hour Man is from. It's from the 45th century. He was created using DNA from the 2 Hour Mans. I forget, Rex Tyler. Why do I can't remember his son or his dad? The two Hour Men are what we used to make him, and he's apparently been messed up by something else. So he's back here, and he's got something planned with these sidekicks. So, he points out he's been forgotten alongside them. The Boom, Cherry Bomb, John Henry Jr., Ladybug, Salem the Witch Girl, Betsy Ross, Molly Pitcher, Quiz Kid. Now, to be fair, if John Henry Jr. is John Henry Irons' son, this is going to be awkward. I have no idea who Ladybug is. Molly Pitcher seems to be kind of broken because she can pour anything from that pitcher and anything tastes whatever form it wants. And Courtney points out, hey, you guys weren't forgotten. You've been lost. You've been taken out of history. So you weren't forgotten. You just weren't known about. And it's sort of weird because some of them have been forgotten. Ladybug has been forgotten. Like, her parents were searching for her for years. They're dead now. Jay Garrick, in no way, didn't forget about his daughter because she was taken out of the timeline. Because that's just not who Jay Garrick is. So anyway, the childminder, who used to be important, is no longer important because it turns out she's doing all this to get her youth back, or whatever. And, yeah, she's old and alone. I don't get this character. Like, she had a great setup, a great presence, but now that Hour Man's here, she just doesn't matter. And apparently Hour Man is like, you know what, fine, we'll keep the deal. He starts taking youth time away from Stargirl and giving it to the childminder, but then my arch nemesis Corky comes in. He's still my arch nemesis, despite what this story tries to do. Throws his hat, Crockett, which turns out it's an actual raccoon. Hopefully that raccoon's like put in stasis. Otherwise, his hair stinks. Anyway, so he catches Courtney, gives her time back, is able to undo what Hour Man 3 did, and yeah, so it leads to this whole team up. Once again, this is like, the 3rd time these kids have decided, like, you know what, let's rumble, bitch. And I'm sorry, how have I not said this before? Kids Next Door battle stations, alright? Because that's what this is, and I love it. As a matter of fact, we could have called this entire run Kids Next Door. Alright, this is with the missing kids from Sector Z on steroids, and I love it. So, they go in again, and so Stargirl points out, like, if you stop this storm of energy, they can get off the island back to the JSA, and they can probably fix all this. Alright? And so Corky tries to fix everything. She's like, okay, so, we're going to go in through, we're going to change the contract. But then it's interrupted by the arrival of Corky, the Time Master. Corky from the future. He looks like a bigger ass than regular Corky. So Corky's here, but before that, Judy Garrick shows she's a mad lad and goes in and pulls Our Man 3's brain out. I'm like, oh, you didn't learn that from Jay. Maybe she did. I don't know. So they go through, and Quiz Kid goes to the brain. Okay, it looks like someone messed with his brain. I got this. I can fix his brain, because I'm Mr. Terrific Sidekick. Trust me, I can fix a robot brain. So they fix it, put that in. Corky, meanwhile, is weirded out by seeing his future self, and the child mother, I want to be young again. I'm like, so it's the Mother Gothel story. I hate her even more. So, it turns out Corky is here to do something else. Something rather dark. And it turns out he didn't tell anyone here, and old Corky says, like, hey, look, if they find out, they wouldn't want to be your friend anymore. So after everything is somewhat fixed, Corky goes in and he grabs Wing, and he attempts to throw him back in his own time, i.e., the moment he died. And why? Well, because this is the most Time Lord thing ever, or Time Master thing. It doesn't really matter. It's the same concept. So, Stargirl tries to save them and pull them in with the power of the missing kids from Sector Z, or the missing kids of Sector Timelines. And Wing points out, no, he has to stop the bad guy from his time period. He has to sacrifice himself to save the planet. If he doesn't die, if he doesn't go there to do his thing, then guess what? The world ends. So, yeah. Wing has to go out like the hero he is. He points out that he's realized he had to do this for a long time. He's been thinking about it. And now he's ready to go back. And it's a good moment here, but I think Wing should have been a bit more prevalent in the story. I'm like, he's there, he's a mystery, but that's kind of it. And so everyone goes back. It turns out none of them can go back to their own time period. Laws of time and whatnot, which, okay, I get it. I sort of like had to play it through my head, because it is possible to put them back in their own timeline. But the problem is, that creates a paradox. Because everything that Courtney's been researching is about the missing generation of sidekicks. If they're brought back, then history has to readjust itself. And the question is, how big a paradox would that be if all of a sudden these kids are no longer there, or they're back there? Courtney never goes, which creates a paradox, because if they're never gone, then Courtney never goes looking for them, which means that island never happens. So what? Or, worst case scenario, Our Man 3 still goes back and tries again, things can get worse. Ultimately, they're all brought back to the present day. Some of them don't have parents, because they're all dead, like Ladybug. As we mentioned, Ladybug's parents died, never knowing where she was. Some of them are just, yeah, they're out of time, they're out of place. I want those journalism kids to go to the Daily Planet. They can be Lois's sidekicks, now she's editor-in-chief. I love it. They all pay the 7 Soldiers of Victory. Pay tributes to Wing. I do like that. They remembered him. Jay Garrick, we didn't get to see what happened. Jay gets to meet his daughter. So I guess he does know he has a daughter? I don't know. Corky, my arch nemesis, is feeling bad, and I shall not kick him while he is down. I shall not. As much as I'd love to, I will not kick Corky while he's down, because he has lost all of his friends. They were never really his friends. And Rip Hunter comes and is like, you did good, kid. You're finally acting like a Time Master, a junior one, but a Time Master nonetheless. And don't worry, I made sure to take care of that other version of you. I'm like, did you just kill the future version of Corky? We know why he did it. But anyway, he reminds Corky that, hey, you're a Time Master. This is about you making friends as you travel through time. Your job is to protect history, to protect the timelines. All right, which means he's supposed to maintain a specific continuity. So in other words, if all those kids had to die, Corky or Rip would have had to make sure that happened. Which, okay, I get it. I do get it. But I think that this is one of those hard parts of being a Time Master, a Time Lord, Time Traveler. Doctor Who does this from time to time. Certain atrocities, the Doctor doesn't go there to prevent. You're like, no, I'm here to make sure this thing happens. Because if it doesn't happen, something worse will happen. Listen to Enemy of the Daleks. Really great moment for that. But anyway, Rip says, you did good. You did good, so we got to go back to the Old West. You stay here, and we go there. And apparently, to see what happens, see more of Stargirl and the Young Justice Society, or Kids Next Door, Kids Next Timeline, we'll have to see Justice League of America issue 6. Justice Society of America, my mistake. That's how the comic ends. So Stargirl issue 6 was alright. It felt like we sort of wrapped everything together. I think the problem is there's too many of them. There's just too there's too many of them. There's too much going on here. There's some nice stuff. There's a lot of great stuff from Stargirl throughout the entirety of these 6 issues. She really does a good job of remaining the focus of this story to some extent. Corky doesn't steal a lot of light from her. It really just shows the fact that JSA run, Power Girl was promoted to being a senior chair on the JSA. They said she'd earned it. Courtney at this point has proven in Jeff Johns' JSA run and in this run here that she is qualified to lead teams to some degree. She's been able to keep teams together. She's got these different personalities from clashing with each other. So that really is great about this story here. This does endear you more to Stargirl if you weren't before. She's a really great character. So it's a shame DC doesn't do more with her. They've tried, but those books never really lasted. Justice League United had no real plan. Justice League of America was possibly Jeff Johns' worst Justice League run, because it only existed to promote Justice League's Trinity War story, which is a shame because that book did have Stargirl in it. Ultimately, I do like this Lost Generation of Sidekicks. I hope Jeff Johns does more with it, because I know other writers won't. Also, every time new writers come in for Jeff Johns' work, it tends to just not work out well. I'm really just salty about Dark Side War, where Jeff Johns revealed that Diana had a brother, and that didn't go anywhere until it did, and then it was kind of lame. Yeah, but whatever. Overall, this was a really good week, I think. Really great, a lot of great stuff. Superman Lost is, again, 2 more issues. We'll see where that goes. Generation Joker, didn't need it. Loved it either way. Green Lantern, optimistic. And Stargirl was alright, but I think we may have fumbled the bag here, but I think I can see why. And we'll have to wait for Justice Society of America issue 6 to really see how this plays out. Anyway, with that in mind, bringing you to close here. If you are new to the Bugger Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is Bugger Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well. Yeah.